Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Make Life Less Taxing podcast, the show where we uncover what really creates freedom in life and business, and we'll explore stories of those who've learned how to build wealth with purpose.
Welcome back to the Make Life Less Taxing podcast. Today, I'm joined by Gavin Wilson, founder of Wilson Crow Strategic Wealth, a firm that helps individuals rethink their money and reclaim their future through unconventional principle-based strategies. Gavin, welcome to the show.
Daniel, thank you so much for having me.
Great to having you here. Gavin, can you share a little bit more about who you are and what's the work that you're doing these days?
Yeah, well, like you said, I am Gavin Wilson. I'm out of Nashville, Tennessee. I'm running two companies. One is a family office. It focuses with high net worth individuals and making sure that their money is on the same page with all their advisors in their life. And then my other is more for the masses. It approaches everybody in the world of finance and just helping them get a little bit higher education around finance.
Awesome. So what was it that originally kind of pulled you into this world of, wealth strategy and advising?
Yeah, it was actually very unique. So before I got into the world of finance, the world of advising, I played professional golf for 2 years once I graduated college, and my wife came to me. I'd been gone for 40 weeks out of the year, and she's like, "Hey, I'm not cool with this. I'm not doing this anymore. Like you're never home." And so it took some time. Went down to my family has a lake house. Went down to the lake house and picked up a book. It was called "What Would the Rockefellers Do?"
Mm.
And I read it, and it intrigued me. And I was like, I want to tell everyone about this. And so it kind of led me to jumping into the world of finance and just sharing different ways around approaching and thinking about finance. So that's kind of the backstory.
Yeah, wow, it's a great book, and I think it was a good choice because trying to run a family, being
Yeah. Yeah.
professional, in professional sports, those two things are very hard to or hard to do. So
Yes. Yes.
yeah, listen, a lot of advisors focus mostly on managing money, and your brand talks a lot about reclaiming freedom. What does that really mean to you? And I think you already know how it became your mission, but that's really the mission that you have, right?
Yeah, yeah. So when I talk about just reclaiming your future, I think there's a lot of misinformation in society, but finance as a whole right now. And there's a lot of people that they sell product or they just strictly do one thing rather than teaching individuals the holistic view of finance and helping them understand where money is leaking out of their life, but also the things in their life that are meant to take money away from them. And so we spend a ton of time educating people on those things so that way, if they so decide, they can make changes, they can make decisions to bring that money back into their life.
Yeah, no, that's really great. I think the biggest challenge is that there's a lot of misconception. Unfortunately, most people, not that they're challenged with how to managing their money, but I think a lot of them are kind of plugged into the wrong system, and they kind of plugged into the system that was never really designed for them to win. And a lot
Yep.
of them are getting frustrated by the fact that they're not really getting ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I talk about that a ton, right? We have a system that was created to benefit what I call the big three,
Mm.
which is the banks, the IRS, and Wall Street. And if you're not educated on what they're doing and why they might advise you to do something specific, it's going to be very hard to get ahead, right? They're going to benefit more than you will. And so that's something that I try and speak into people.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point. I think a lot of people are just not aware of, and I think I can't remember who said that, but kind of the IRS, the tax code is designed for two types of people, for the ones that are informed and the ones that are uninformed. And unfortunately, I think most people are uninformed about what is inside of the IRS code and how they can actually use the strategies that are in there to help them to pay less taxes.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard it put this way. Most people they go to their CPA for their tax advice, but really CPAs are just historians, right? They're
Mm.
looking in the past and figuring out, hey, what can we do to maybe alleviate some of these taxes, or what are the deductions we need to take? Most people don't understand the importance of having a tax strategist, someone that's being proactive, looking into the future for them. And so, yeah, I don't know about you. I'm not spending my time reading the thousands of pages of tax code, so I know the common individual isn't either.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And what you kind of can describe is like driving, you know, driving to a destination through a rearview mirror, right? Like
Yeah,
you need to
exactly.
look forward, right?
Yeah,
Not looking backwards constantly and try to drive a car that way. So I think that's a great,
yeah.
great point. So if you had to sum up your personal mission in one sentence, what would that be?
Oh, that's a good question. If I had to sum up my personal mission, it would be helping individuals create a legacy
Mm,
through wealth building strategies.
yeah, no, that's great. So when first people come to you, what's usually going on kind of behind the scenes in their financial life? Where are they at?
Yeah, what we commonly see when people come to us is, frankly, just a little bit of chaos.
Mm,
And when I say chaos, them personally, they might not be in a world of chaos, but when we look at their money, they have different products doing different things. They have different advisors, and none of their stuff is on the same page. Um, and what we find is because of those things not being on the same page, not ultimately communicating with each other, there's just money leaking out. And we like to sum it up in just four common areas, but I'm sure we can dive into that a little bit deeper here in a second.
yeah. Well, what are some of the silent inefficiencies that that you help your client to uncover then?
Yeah. Um, we like to sum it up as just the four I's, right? I like to keep things super easy to remember. And so what the four I's are is the IRS. A lot of people are doing what I call tipping the government.
Mm,
They're overpaying when they shouldn't really be. So the IRS is one where a lot of money leaks out. The next is insurance. I see a lot of
mm,
people that they don't understand how to properly navigate their structuring of their insurance. So what is the right deductible for them? Do they need to raise their deductible, lower their premiums? Not understanding the difference between inconsequential and consequential insurance. So a lot of times we find people are losing a ton in the world of insurance just because of a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding, but also a lack of advocacy from the agents, not necessarily teaching them, hey, this is in your best interest. You should do it this
mm,
way. So that's the second one. The third one is the world of investments. A lot
mm,
of people lose a lot of money in the world of investing. One, because they don't do any due diligence. They don't take time to educate themselves. Two, they don't understand what management fees actually cost
mm,
them in the long run. What we have come to find out is a simple 1% management fee. Nothing wrong with that, but it does cost individuals 40% of their future wealth. And so
wow.
helping people understand, that's where a lot of money's going and why sometimes your accounts don't grow the way you thought they would. And then finally, it's interest, right? Who are you
Mm,
paying interest to, or are you not getting paid interest on dollars you should be? And so walking through, hey, if we have bad debt, how do we take that bad debt and make it no debt or good debt? If we don't have any debt, do you have money just sitting in a savings account or a checking account? And, it's funny. I had a client come to me the other day and they had $560,000 in a checking account. And if you look
wow.
at the math, it's just like, you're losing a ton of money because it's just sitting there staring at you. But yeah,
Yeah.
so those are the four common
Yeah.
areas that we look at first where people are losing a lot of money.
Yeah. I really like that framework. Four eyes. I've never heard it described that way, but yeah, IRS, insurance, investments, and interest.
Yeah.
That's great. Can you walk us through a moment when a client realized they were unintentionally holding themselves back financially? I mean, you just kind of mentioned one, having $500,000 in a checking
Yeah.
account. Maybe they were getting that extra bump of interest because they had 500,000, because that's, I think, where the next year maybe is at.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
are there other examples that somebody like truly kind of had that aha moment?
Yeah. So what we spend a lot of time teaching people on is actually cash flow
Mm,
creation. Um, but where most people miss the mark is having a structure on the front end when you actually get paid. And so we have had a ton of aha moments, but I'll give you one specifically. We had a couple. They were doing well. They were making a little over $500,000 a year, combined.
Mm.
And they were like, "Hey, we're living paycheck to paycheck." And I was like, "How? How are we living paycheck to paycheck?" But that's just the realities of lifestyle creep. Um,
Yeah.
and like I said earlier, everything in this world is meant to take money away from us. Very few are actually meant to bring money back into our life. And so we had a really deep conversation around how to structure your inflows versus your outflows. And a lot of times, people, when they get paid into their checking account. And Daniel, you understand this. Your checking account's used for one thing, expenses, to spend money.
Yeah.
And they wonder why their lifestyle continues to increase, continues to creep up. It's because it's going into an area that's meant to be spent. And so
Yeah.
all we did was we simply flipped that structure. We said, hey, what if we sent your income into your savings account first? From there, from that savings account, your lifestyle of $20,000 leaves and goes into your checking. You got permission, spend all of that money. But by creating that intermediary, or what we call a reservoir, all of a sudden they started unconsciously saving money and then
Mm.
consciously choosing how much they spend. And in 3 months, they saved $89,000. Um, and for them, they were like, how in the world did we just do that?
Yeah, I think there is a law. I can't remember the name of the law where it basically says, and I think it's with time or money, that if you don't assign purpose for time or money, it will kind of find itself way out, right? It will spend itself, and time will just allow itself to, a lot of people say, I don't have time. No, no, it's because you don't make the time. And I think
Yeah.
what you just shared when it comes down to the money, you had no purpose for that money. You just kind of went into this black hole, and it disappeared. Where now, if you actually give it purpose, it will actually be able to go and contain itself that way, right?
Yeah.
That's a great example.
It's funny
Now,
that you mentioned that law too, because it's
I
actually
think it's
Parkinson's
Parkinson. Is
law.
it Parkinson's law?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Parkinson's law.
okay.
We talk
That's what
about it all
yeah,
the time with people.
yeah,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah. No, it's great. And again, most people, again, most of the things, and I think this is, working with advisors like yourself, often what we find is like most of these things are really simple, principle-based things
Yeah.
that, kind of like everybody knows that gravity works. Listen, you go on top of the building, it doesn't matter if you're slim, fat, pink, brown, yellow, white, you jump off of the building,
Yeah.
you're going to hit the ground. Yet most people don't understand that when it comes to finances, when it comes to life in general, there are these principles that if you just understand how they work, you will be able to get much further, much further ahead. So when you work with families, what kind of people or families seem to benefit most from the work that you do?
Yeah. The easy answer is everybody, right? But truly, what I have found is there's people that want to grow, there's people that want to improve their circumstances, and then there's frankly people that don't. They think they already got it all figured out, and so what we have found is through what we call our discovery meeting, it becomes very clear whether or not someone is intentional on growing their finances and wanting to create a greater version of themselves. And so through that discovery meeting, we say, hey, is this what you're looking for? Are you someone that's coachable? Are you someone that is looking to grow and continue to improve? Or through just questioning, it becomes very obvious that they think they already got it all figured out and their finances are perfect. And so we let them know, hey, we're not going to be the right fit. But what I have found is the people with the more money are typically the people that are more open and coachable,
Hmm.
which in my mind is kind of backwards. I would feel like the people with less money would be the ones like, hey, like, how do I get more of this? Teach me some more. But they actually aren't. So that's why I have focused solely on the high net worth area because they're easy to talk with, they're ready to make action in their life, and they're very coachable.
Yeah, you bring a great point, and I tend to look at it as there are kind of these two worlds. I call the first one the red world or the world of scarcity, and the blue world, world of abundance.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how about you. I was born in the world of scarcity. I'm originally from Czechoslovakia. I lived under communism,
Hmm.
and there is a different way of thinking, and there are different rules in these two worlds. And what you mentioned, people that are living in the scarcity world, they were spent a lot of time to go make money. And I think there was a quote from Oracle of Omaha. I keep on what's his name? head of Berkshire Hathaway, or well, he
Warren
just
Buffett?
Warren Buffett. Yeah, he basically said people are working so hard they don't have time to make money. The first
Mm,
time I heard it, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. But
yeah.
that's basically what's happening. And then you have people that are living in the world of abundance, in the blue world, and they will
Mm,
spend a lot of money to buy back their time.
yeah.
And I think it's a different way of thinking. And so often you get people that were brought up or that are in the red world, and through circumstances, they get thrusted into the blue world, into the world of abundance, because maybe they won the lottery. Professional athletes go into that, but they're still using the rules of scarcity in this world of abundance. And often they will pretty well lose everything they had and they become even more broke than they were before. I'm not sure
Yeah.
how you become broker, but I guess, suddenly you got millions of
Yeah.
dollars, you don't know what to do with it. You
Yeah.
start borrowing and you lose all of that. Plus now you've got debt. So
Yeah.
it is a different way of thinking, right? So when
100%.
when you work with people, often when you kind of help them to have these ahas or you start showing them some of these principles, can you describe the kind of the emotional difference before and after working with you and your team?
Yeah. So one, just to clarify with everybody, I'm very fresh into the world of finance. This is my first full year of having my companies open. And so, we're still seeing some of those aha moments, right? Because aha moments don't always come after one conversation or 1 month. They come over a long period of time of doing the right things consistently. But what I will say is, what we have focused a ton on with our clients is helping them better improve their relationship with money.
Mm,
The reality is, the world has trained us to believe that money is the end all be all, that it is the center of your world. And we don't believe that to be the case. We believe it's just simply a tool. And by helping people understand that using money as a tool and using money to actually go out and create and add more value into this world is how money actually comes back around, how more money comes back into your life. And so some of the aha moments that we've had with clients has been challenging them to, hey, go pour some money back into your business or go get some coaching or hey, go on that vacation with your family because the reality is wealth is not a dollar sign.
mm,
Wealth is a result of a life well lived. And so if you're using your dollars to actually create abundance, like you said, in your life, create experiences and moments with the people you care about most, those are the aha moments that we see with people where it's like,
mm.
I'm so glad you challenged me to go on vacation with my family. I didn't think I would have to be challenged to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really what it comes down to is changing somebody's perspective, right? Like how they're looking at something and then, completely changing it. My major shift in perspective was when I just studied and got my CFP designation, and then I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and
Yeah.
there, Robert was telling me that my house is not the biggest asset; it's the biggest liability, and it did not make sense to me because I'm like going, no, 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 that's not what they taught me here, right? Because they were teaching the opposite. And then that kind of opened up this whole idea, this kind of inception, into my brain going like, hang on, what if it is true, right? I mean, asset's only an asset when it has a cash flow. Okay, well, what does that really mean? Like nobody has really started explaining these things to me. But more and more that I start studying, and I realize that there is actually a lot more truth in some of these concepts that are not traditionally taught in the financial industry. And I started to realize that unfortunately, most advisors are never taught how to help people. They're really taught how to sell products.
Yeah.
And that kind of started my journey out of the financial industry. I called myself a recovering CFP because I started to realize that a lot
Love
of that stuff wasn't really there. And I don't want to say that it wasn't there to help people, but it was structured in a system that really was set up for people to stay status quo, not to win in life. And I think this is what you're sharing. And you're using concept like Rockefeller method, leap, cash flow mapping, and all of these things.
Yeah.
Uh, maybe you can explain a little bit more. Why do these strategies kind of really resonate with you, and what do you believe that most traditional financial advice, kind of gets wrong? To expand on what we're talking about here.
Yeah. I think where most financial advice goes wrong is they don't spend enough time actually educating the client.
Mm,
I really do believe this. If you educate the client, um, they will make a decision in their best interest. But a lot of the world of finance is taught, right, to sell a product.
Mm.
And when you're focused solely on selling a product, it's very hard to walk around the table and get on the same side with them because you're in a more of a, not argument isn't the right word, but you're in a conversation where you're trying to get your perspective and your product on their side of the table. And so what we have focused on is how do we get on that same side of the table? How does it become like, we're holding hands and we're walking to the finish line together? I'm not giving you something and then taking off and you don't hear back from me. And
Yeah.
so that's where I think the world of finance has missed the mark is just not enough people having and asking the right questions of why is it that, they tell us and they teach us and train us to focus solely on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I think you bring a really important point when it comes down to you're not there to sell them something. You are really there to be their guide, to help them to make the next best decision for them. And sometimes them not buying whatever you're providing might be the best decision, but you
Yeah.
as an advisor really need to go and help them to realize that. Unfortunately, as you know, we kind of mentioned the old traditional financial world, it's like, no, no, I'm here to sell you something. You
Yeah.
know, do you want to go and buy it? Where you kind of have to go and pull back a little bit and going like, no, I'm here to help you make a decision. And the framework that you just mentioned, hey, how do I get onto their side? Not to go and manipulate them or try to make them feel guilty that not that we're both on the same side. You have to do this because we're friends, but
Yeah.
really show them that you're there to really guide them and help them to show them, hey, what is the truth here? You know, like, and often when I talk with advisors and we're speaking very openly about the traditional financial industry where we came from, not to kind of slam it, but just to say, hey, this is the reality. This is what's happening. It's not to say that people that are in it that are sometimes somehow bad people, but some of them are just not aware. You know, again, informed and uninformed are, you know, at every level where, you know, kind of where we're at. So that's a very
Yeah.
great point that you brought up when it comes down to, hey, how do we get to the same side? How do we show them that, you know, we're kind of, you know, in this together?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, one thing that we're missing a ton of in the world of finance is leadership.
Mm,
Um, a lot of people, they have, they might have money managers, they might have insurance agents or CPAs. But once again, like they're there to do a job. Um, what I think we need to transition to is financial leaders, right?
yeah.
I think that kind of plays well into what you have created here as well as, we're once again getting on the same side of the table with you, but we're developing a relationship and we're asking the right questions to figure out what is it that you truly want in your life? What do you desire it to look like? And how do we get there? It's not
Mm.
product focused, it's a process focused.
Yeah. As you mentioned the word, and I'm going to go and focus on that leadership. And literally, I had like chills down my spine. Can you
Yeah.
expand on that? What particular do you mean by that from your perspective? Because I 100% agree with you. You know,
Yeah.
advisors need to be leaders. Like they should not be
Yeah.
going to a meeting hoping to sell something. They should be going there to really help that person have a transformation. But from your perspective, what does that really mean to, you know, for somebody to, you know, be focused more on leadership?
Yeah, I think leadership, the greatest form of leadership is servant leadership,
Mm,
which means putting someone ahead of yourself. And in order to do that, what I have found is a lot of financial advisors, they're actually not in a great financial position themselves, which means they're in a spot where they feel like they have to go out and sell something. They have to get
mm,
whatever it is that they make money off of out of the situation. Whereas if we transition to a world of financial leaders where you're actually doing what you tell everybody else to do, it allows you to sit with them and help build and create a vision that they desire, right?
mm.
I think a lot of people naturally just kind of struggle with having a bigger vision of themselves. They walk in and sit down with
Yeah.
my team and they have limiting beliefs of what they should have in their life, what they currently have. And if you're able to actually speak into that, right, develop that trust and develop that relationship, you take this vision that they've cast for themselves and you exponentially grow it to where they leave the conversation feeling better than when they came in. But I don't think it ends there because vision is great, right? You get excited, you get motivation to go out and create something bigger and better. But I think leaders also have to be bold for their clients.
Mm.
And when I say bold, it's not bold at them. It's not telling them, hey, you need to do this because this is the best situation. It's letting them know, hey, because care so deeply about you, this is a very important decision, and we need to think through it from all sides. So let's take a step back. Let's say, hey, is it the best decision for us, or does it need to be put off and maybe we make this decision later? You know, a lot of people come in and they're like, I want to invest, but they're not even in a position or ready to
Mm.
start investing. And so you have to
Yeah.
be willing to kind of tell people no sometimes too. So as much as I'm like a dream caster for people, I'm also sometimes a dream crusher. And I have to tell them, hey, like that's
Yeah.
just not reality right now. But that is what leadership looks like. It's not selling them a product, even knowing good and well they're not in a position to have that. And
Yeah.
so that's where I think the leadership needs to come more into play in the world of finance.
Yeah, you bring a lot of great points. Wow, I don't even know where to go if I wanted to go and unpack that. But one of the major thing is what you just mentioned. People want to invest, but they're not even in a place to invest. As soon as you mention that, I think about a client that came to and says, "Hey, Daniel, I've got $50,000 here. I want to go and invest it."
Yeah.
And for me, it would be like saying, "Yeah, great, let's go and do it," and I could get paid on it. And then I'm like, first question that I ask, "Hey, you know what? I remember that you had like a credit card. Like I know you have a credit card debt. Where is that at?" He goes like, "Oh yeah, I've got $70,000 on a credit card." I'm like going, "Pay that off, man. I can't guarantee
Yeah.
you 30% rate of return, no
You
matter where I
can't.
put it." And it was
Exactly.
kind of
Yeah.
like, "No, but then I don't have anything." I'm like, "You already don't have anything. Like, hold
Yeah.
on, you got to go and do this, right?" And I think
Yeah.
this is kind of the point that you're creating. It would have been very easy for me to go like, "Yeah, let's go and invest it in here. I can go and get paid from that."
Yeah.
But it was like for me personally, anyway, I could not do it. Sometimes at the detriment of my family, but I like, hey, I've got to go and do what's best for the client. So when you mentioned the leadership for that, that's what is important. And you also mentioned another thing. And unfortunately, I often say that most financial advisors, they're accidental business owners. And I don't
Mhm.
mean that in a negative way. I just mean that we get into the business and we get so excited about the business of advising. And we don't understand that there's two parts of running a business. And really, the definition of a business is an entity that can run on its own without the owner.
Yeah.
And that was part of the reason why I got out of the industry. I realized that I thought I was building a business, and I just realized I had a glorified job. And I'm like, okay, again,
Mhm.
thank you, Robert. You kind of
Yeah.
educated me on the difference of having a business and having a glorified, job as he says it.
Yep.
And that is so, that is so important. And unfortunately, a lot of advisors, I think a lot of advisors get into the business because they had a really bad or negative relationship with money themselves and their finances are not fixed. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they cannot go and help to give advice to somebody, but unfortunately, I think the financial industry have not taught them how to give advice. They taught them how to sell products, and then it becomes this, a kind of a vicious cycle of advisors never get their own finances in order,
Mhm.
and then they're just trying to go and sell products instead of truly partnering up with the client and helping them.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah. Now, when you think about legacy, what do you want your business and life to stand for? I mean, you just mentioned you're kind of starting out, and let me tell you, I'm so incredibly impressed that at your age, you already have this knowledge. You're already thinking about, partnering up with people and thinking a little bit outside of the box. But when you think about your legacy, what do you want your, essentially your business, your brand, your life to stand for?
Yeah. Um, when I think about my legacy and what it is that I'm trying to create with both of my companies, but also my family, all the relationships I care about most, um, I want people to look back and say, um, Gavin, his companies, they completely changed the industry because of how they selflessly served every single client. Um, like I was saying, I don't think we have enough advisors, enough strategists, whatever you want to call it, in the industry serving individuals
Hmm.
at the highest level. Um, and sometimes that looks like, answering the call, even if it's inconvenient for you, or working with someone to help them, get over the hump, even if they don't necessarily fit your ideal prospect or your ideal client.
Yeah.
Um, and so for me, it's creating an environment and a situation where even if I personally can't do it, my team can, the other advisors that I bring on can. So that way when people come to work with us, like our legacy is, hey, we walked in and we knew we were getting served. We knew we weren't getting sold.
Yeah. No, it's great. And I think the one point that you bring up, and I'm sure you will agree with this, there is no competition. There
Yeah.
is more than enough people for everybody. And so often I find advisors, they feel like they're the only one, and their client that they're working on has got to become their client. It's like, and
Yeah.
they don't share information, they don't share with others, and it kind of becomes a bit of a lonely place for them. And I'm like, man, you're getting it wrong. There is more than enough people. Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to like your style. Not everybody's going to resonate with you. And
Hmm.
you shouldn't focus on trying to be liked by everybody. You just find out who you are, what your personality is, and how can you go and start building relationships? Because really, the financial business is more or less a relationship business first, then
Yeah.
finances. Because as you've mentioned, nobody's trying to get a biggest pile of green paper with dead presidents on it. That's not the goal. The goal is to actually live and enjoy the life, right? Kind of the
Right.
idea of the prize is not the destination. The prize is the trip, is the
Mhm.
journey, right? And
Yeah.
I think, again, that's the difference, I think, between the red world and the blue world, right?
Yeah.
The red world thinks that the prize is the destination. And what they don't realize that you never get there, because as soon as you get close to it, it's kind of like walking with the horizon, right? Like
Yeah.
you can walk around the whole world, you'll
Yeah.
never reach the horizon, and unfortunately, most people think that, that's kind of the goal.
Yeah.
So as looking back and over the last few years and everything that you have kind of gone through, what's one lesson that or shift that really changed how you work on how you're looking at things?
Yeah. Man, that's a great question. Um, when I started in big corporate finance, the one thing that I learned very, very quickly, and why I ultimately got out of it was, I was being taught and trained as if other advisors, other strategists were the competition.
Hmm.
Um, but when I started diving deeper into it, what I realized is other advisors, other strategists, they aren't my competition. My competition is who meets my clients' dollars first, the Amazons,
Hmm.
the electrical bill, the mortgage, like all of that. That is truly the competition. And, once again, everything in our life is meant to take money away from us. Like the other day, I had some money sitting in Venmo, and I got a notification saying, hey, you got money sitting in Venmo. Here's a couple things that you could go and spend it on. Like, how crazy is that? I
Yeah.
literally got a notification saying, hey, we know you got money here. What are you going to spend it on? So, in the world of finance, like what people have to realize is stop trying to compete with other advisors. If anything, go and collaborate with them.
Hmm.
Your competition is not them. Your competition is the Amazons, the new car, the new hot tub or pool in your backyard. That's your competition. And if you can help create a situation and a structure where you're on the front end of clients' paychecks and how clients earn money, then you can actually truly help them. But if you continue to sit on the back end and just get whatever's left over, you're always going to
Yeah.
feel like you have to compete with other advisors.
Yeah. You know what? I love what you just said, and I'm just you mentioned it. I'm like going, you know what? Yeah, that's the problem with the financial industry. I'm not saying it's the problem, but that we're taught to sell products and compete with other advisors.
Yeah.
Figure out how you can get something out of their hands so that it now becomes in your hands. And
Hmm.
it's completely a different perspective, different point. And you
Yeah.
bring it up, yeah, it's all the the lifestyle creep that that clients do. Like you said, you've got some money over there and you're getting emails to tell you how to go and spend it. Yeah, that's kind of a
Yeah.
little bit a little bit crazy. And we've got our smartphones, and yeah, they're smart how to go and tell us how to go and spend our money. And suddenly you talk about something in a conversation, next thing you know, you're seeing ads for that
Yeah.
item. You go like, is that coincidence, or is somebody competing for that, for that dollar?
Yeah.
And it's very easy to get caught up in into that.
Yeah. It truly is incredible. I mean, technology is a beautiful thing, but it has also completely disconnected the relationship between like you actually exchanging value for something. Like I can simply just go click on one button and I purchase something that's delivered to my front porch. That's incredible. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Really good for convenience. But when it comes to actually creating wealth, it's very difficult. It makes things very tough. You're always battling yourself.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Yeah. Now, is there a story, that you can maybe share that really fuels you on the work that you're doing, or maybe a moment that reminds you why what you do matters?
Yeah. I have a couple stories. But the one that immediately pops into my mind, I'll set the stage for it first. I didn't get into this industry because I was like, oh, I want to make a lot of money. I got into this industry because I read What Would the Rockefellers Do? And I was like, I have never heard it put that way. I've never even
Hmm.
thought about money and finance that way. I need to educate people on this.
Hmm.
And so it came from a position of I want to educate people so that way they can make better decisions. I think there is better ways of doing this and stewarding these dollars that we've been given. But it was also, I'm a very spiritual individual and, throughout my prayers and really seeking out, hey, what do you want my next step to look like, Lord? He made it very clear that this is what he was calling me to do.
Hmm.
Um, and so for me, I think there's a lot of people, like you said, they do jobs. You have a lot of people that do careers. And for me, this isn't a career, it's a calling. And so when it comes to my calling, like that's all hands on deck. I'm willing to put everything on the table for every single client to ensure that they reach what I call their maximum financial potential. And one of the coolest stories that I have around that um, was this young lady. She got referred to me because she had a little over $46,000 in debt.
Hmm.
Um, and when she came to me, I mean, she's just bogged down. She feels like she can never get her head over water. And, the reality is the credit card companies were charging her on average 38% interest.
Wow.
She's not going to get ahead.
Yeah.
Um, And so it was like, hey, we're gonna figure something out. Now, is that individual, are they gonna be like my ideal client? Are they gonna be able to do the most things and create the most decisions in the world of finance? No. But what we did is we said, hey, listen, we have a ton of individuals that are always looking for places to park their money, right? And here's the thing, we could realistically go from 30% or 38% average interest rate to probably about 10%. And we could cut that monthly payment from it was at like $5,400 a month
Wow.
to a little under 2,000. It was like 1,700 and some change.
Yeah.
And so we were able to do that for her because I went to another one of my clients and just said, "Hey, this is the situation. Um, this is what money's all about. It's helping take care of people, right? There's always more. We're not eating from a finite pie. There's infinite money." And they said, "Hey, we would love and be willing to do this for her." And so they did. And I got an unbelievable text from her, just letting me know how thankful she was that I was willing to take time out of my schedule to help her, ultimately free up
Yeah.
$3,300 or so, $3,400. And so that's probably been one of the more impactful text and relationships. Um, and so that's the first one that comes to mind.
No, that's a great story, and I think the way that you framed it too, like the reason you came into the business, wasn't really to go and make money. I mean, the financial business is a great business to,
Yeah.
for somebody to get involved to go and grow their own wealth as far as an advisor and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But again, the motivation behind that, and I really appreciate what you kind of mentioned, and at the end, that's what it comes down to. Like you're there to go and help that individual, and I think if you were in the traditional uh, advising model, you probably couldn't help that person, because you would not have the connections. You would not be thinking a little bit outside of the box,
Yeah.
right? Of what you can actually do and how you can go and help somebody. And, having that opportunity. And it sounds like, the work that you do is not just, obviously it's a mission, it's a calling, it's not a job. But I think it's really giving you a purpose for why you do what you do and what you really want to go and do with your life and kind of a God-given purpose, what I'm hearing to say.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So as you look to the future, what's a is there a project or is there something that you're working on where you're kind of moving next, or what are your plans?
Yeah, so it's very, very simple for me. I like to be crystal clear on where it is that I'm going. Um, and instead of setting goals, I like to set promises to
Mm,
myself. And so when I look into the future where I'm going, the reason I ultimately created two companies was because I have a retirement plan, and that is working with my ideal clients for the remainder of my life and the remainder of their lives. Because I get so much energy and joy in my time with them. That's the family office side.
mm,
So that's kind of what I'm gonna sell off into the sunset with. But I've also spent a ton of time focusing on creating Wilson Crowe Strategic Wealth, which is focused and tailored towards the masses. How do we disrupt the world of finance? How do we change the way people are thinking about their money and their relationship with money? And so for that, I want to get that to $1 billion company over the next
mm.
10 years. And in order to do that, it's not necessarily just targeting clients and targeting individuals, it's also targeting advisors. And so we have created a situation and an ecosystem where when you come on board to work with us, it is not just a transactional relationship with a client. It's transformational. And if that's something that you want, that is what we're going to bring about within our firm. And those are my two focuses. That's all I got.
No, no, that's great, and that's a great mission. When it comes down to as far as the focus that you have. You know what? You do have two different focuses, but like you said, you're pretty well crystal clear on what that's going to look like and what you're going after. And I think that was part of the reason too why when I got out of the industry and started working with financial advisors, I realized, hey, you know what I can actually do. I can have a bigger impact than just working by myself, and
Yeah.
then again, having that purpose and God-given purpose, kind of knowing why God placed me on earth. I always tell people, hey, listen, the most two important dates in your life is the day you're born and the day
Mhm.
when you discover why, because that
Yeah.
gives you that whole purpose. And for you, and again, in your early 20s and discovering all that stuff, man, you're gonna go far in this business and other places. So it's exciting to see. Listen, as we're wrapping this up, I've got few, I call them fire questions to get to know you a little bit outside of the business. What's a book that's really shaped your mindset and leadership?
Yeah. Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits.
Um,
Great.
yeah. Getting 1% better every single day was huge for me. And just stacking those habits on top of each other. So that's one that's been unbelievable.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, staying on habits, what's one habit or routine that keeps you grounded?
Yeah. So every single morning, my alarm goes off at 4:30 a.m. I'm at the gym by 4:40. That helps me get my mind and my body in the right place. But then once I get back to the house, I immediately go into my quiet time. And
Mm,
so from 5:45 to usually about 6:15, 6:30, I'm spending time with the Lord and just handing it all over to Him, surrendering it all over to Him. So that way, hey, as we go out into this world, when the world does attack, I'm ready to handle it because I'm not the one having to handle it.
oh, oh, it's great. And well, one of my coaches told me this, and this might make sense to you, Daniel. Life is always working for you, or it's working on you until it can work for you. So it's
Exactly.
always working for us, no matter what happens. So when the world attacks us, it's not attacking us; it's shaping us
Yeah.
into the man or woman that we're becoming. So that's
Yeah.
great.
Couldn't agree more.
What's one bucket list, and you can go more than one if you want,
Okay.
that you haven't done yet?
Oh, I have not played Augusta National. Like I said, I
Mm,
had the professional golfer background. That is the one place that I want to play.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
great. What's a surprising hobby or interest that recharges you?
Um, every Saturday morning, I go up to my old high school and I play basketball.
Mm,
And we play for like 3 hours, consistent runs, and I leave there with more energy than I went in. So I would say that.
yeah, no, that's awesome. And I've
Yeah.
got one last question. I call it the hot one. Let's fast forward to end of your life and imagine that everyone forgot everything you taught them or showed them, but they do remember one message from you. What would you want that message to be?
Hmm. my one message, if there was nothing that people could see or know about me, would be give it all away.
Mm,
Yep.
that's that's a powerful message and perspective because hey, listen, at the end of the life, it all goes back in a box, just like in a game of Monopoly, right? We don't get
Yeah,
to keep anything.
exactly.
So no, that's great. Hey, Gavin, thank you so much for sharing your journey. Where can people find out more about you and the work that you do?
Yeah. So they could go to wilsoncrowstrategicwealth.com if they wanted to get in touch with us there. Obviously, I have a big presence on LinkedIn, so they can find me at Gavin Wilson on LinkedIn. Other than that, if anybody ever wanted my personal phone number, it's 615-490-1804. So once again, I'm in this world to make an impact, to transform lives, which means my phone is always open.
Awesome. So listen, if you're listening, be sure to check out Gavin's website and get in touch with him. I enjoyed this conversation. Gavin, thank you again for your time and your message. And remember, make life less taxing is not just about money. It's about freedom, clarity, and purpose. Keep building wealth, keep protecting your legacy, and keep living the untaxable lifestyle. We'll see you next time on Make Life Less Taxing podcast. Thank you again, Gavin.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Make Life Less Taxing podcast. Be sure to check out our other top advisor interviews at makelifalesstaxingpodcast.com.